Hello, everyone. So, one of the most common that I get asked is, what is causing me to feel this exhausted and burnt out and foggy all the time? This was one of the questions that I asked myself for years too. And it's a very important question because when you know the cause or the causes of whatever it is you're battling, you can make way better choices about how to reverse it. When it comes to chronic fatigue, we're talking about two main types of fatigue. One is chronic fatigue syndrome, and the other is adrenal fatigue. Both are going to make you feel so beyond words, but they do begin from different avenues typically. Also, chronic fatigue syndrome can cause adrenal fatigue, but not the way around. An important thing to note is that neither are fully, if at all, recognized by Western medicine. Let's start with the beginning. Women with chronic fatigue syndrome will have had a viral infection. It's usually starts with something like mono, which triggers a stealth infection. So it's a virus that's sitting in your body kind of dormant until this other virus comes along and turns it on. That stealth infection is Epstein-Barr virus. While the monovirus gets neutralized, goes away, we get over that. Epstein-Barr virus on your immune system at a lower grade level, causing it to always be on. So the immune system is always trying to fight this virus, but just at a low level. So the symptoms are way less severe than, say, mono, pneumonia, the flu, all those other viruses we're more aware of. We get rid of SARS, and about 90% of women have this virus. But it is entirely possible to suppress its symptoms or to put your chronic remission. This is what I've done for myself. It's this virus. We have these viruses in our body. They never go away. They just get neutralized, or antigens and antibodies get produced and prevent them from causing the immune system to activate on them and cause the symptoms. So with Epstein-Barr, the antibodies aren't strong enough to get rid of it per se, like totally neutralize it, but we can totally put it in remission. And science is now showing us that because chronic fatigue creates chronic low-grade inflammation in the body and affects all the body's organs and tissues, it is being classified now as another autoimmune disease, which is good news because we can put autoimmune diseases into remission with nutrition and lifestyle habits. Now, adrenal fatigue happens slowly over time when your personal stress load from trauma, a busy lifestyle, demands at work, at home, and other triggers become too much for your natural survival mechanism to handle. Combined with this problem are many nutrient deficiencies, or gaps, as I call them, that add to the stress load and turn off energy production. Because chronic fatigue syndrome triggers your immune system always on, physiological process also triggers your stress response, adding a stress load and causing more fatigue. You can absolutely reverse adrenal fatigue, so we can get rid of it, or burnout, if that's the other thing to call it. But because your stress response is really sensitive, it will become more susceptible to major stressors without proper nutrition, care, support, and mindset practices and habits. Now, there are a few other causes of chronic fatigue, both chronic fatigue syndrome and burnout. Heavy metals in your system is a big one, mainly because your stress load and your chronic fatigue syndrome have depleted the important detox nutrients. All your body's systems, when they're on, require a lot of nutrients. That's your fuel, per se. If we were pretending our body's a car needs fuel. For us, fuel is nutrients. So anytime any part of your body is activated to do its thing, we need nutrients. Sitting here, the body's using nutrients. So the nervous system imbalances, digestive problems, and an overly toxic liver, a whirling mind, inflammation and hormonal imbalances are all going to cause more of these nutrient deficiencies or gaps that cause further fatigue. A big problem for women with chronic fatigue is mitochondria dysfunction. So both chronic fatigue syndrome and adrenal fatigue directly create the perfect situation for mitochondria dysfunction. Whenever your body is in trouble, energy production turns down. And women with chronic fatigue syndrome are found to have actually deformed mitochondrial walls, which just means that having smooth walls with like the lock and key enzyme mechanism, the little shunts for the nutrients to go in. Ours are a little deformed, malformed. So it's harder for as many nutrients and hormones to connect and get inside. So it's not impossible to regain your energy. We just need to do it right. Now, your body is really very interconnected. If there's a single imbalance in any one organ, it's going to cascade into imbalances elsewhere in the body, going further and further until the original imbalance is addressed. With chronic stress, levels of aldosterone, which reduces blood pressure and causes dehydration. Chronic stress suppresses your thyroid hormone production, as well as your estrogen and progesterone production. It also interferes with insulin sensitivity, leading to insulin resistance and sluggish metabolism of nutrients, which then can lead a little bit further down to cardiovascular inflammation. When you're chronically stressed and or you're living with chronic low-grade inflammation, your digestive system is going to take a beating. This leads to poor neurotransmitter production, especially those that are needed for mood and sleep, because one in particular, serotonin, it's your feel-good neurotransmitter. It's produced in your, 70% of it is produced in your gut. So if the gut isn't happy, you're not going to get this anti-anxiety neurotransmitter getting made. Of course, if the gut isn't happy, not functioning well, you're not going to absorb the nutrients from your foods, and it's going to end up causing elimination of waste, which means that they sit in the colon too long and get reused. And we can't forget about our poor nervous system. It's such an important part of our energy recovery journey. With either chronic fatigue syndrome or adrenal burnout, your body becomes stuck in a cycle of chronic stress, increasing inflammation, increasing stress, increasing inflammation. So this is a stress inflammation cycle. And it will flip the switch on your nervous system to stay stuck in fight or flight mode all the time, no matter what. Until that stress inflammation cycle is broken, and then these two imbalances addressed properly, not completely fixed, but at least addressed, refueled, strengthened, you'll never turn on your state of healing, which is the opposite of fight or flight, known as rest and digest. So the stress inflammation cycle happens, turns on fight or flight all the time. Your body is unable to heal and regain its energy. So until these imbalances are fixed, we won't ever feel more energized. Other causes of chronic fatigue, stress, stealth infections, and nutrient deficiencies include sometimes we're our own worst enemy, but our own poor sleep habits, poor eating hygiene habits, so eating too fast, eating too much, emotional trauma that isn't resolved and or constantly relived counseling, limiting beliefs about ourselves, others, the world, being a perfectionist, a worrier, a high achiever, a caregiver, and a controller. These are the 5 personalities behind chronic fatigue. Other things are the wrong type of exercise for what your body needs, and the wrong types of or more accurately, self-care that isn't targeted at turning off fight or flight. So it's a lot to think about. However, once you focus on those 2 root causes, the stress and inflammation, it's so much easier than to know how to fix your fatigue and regain your energy. If you have that more laser focus on 2 specific imbalances, and when we do this, the work from a 4-phase stepwise approach, it's very easy to reverse your chronic fatigue naturally. Living with chronic fatigue is frustrating, it's confusing, so many symptoms we experience are also ones associated with other diseases. And too often, doctors just focus on other diseases, right? Because fatigue is pretty much a symptom of every other illness we get, because when our bodies are fighting another illness, cancer, all that, your immune system's natural response is to turn down energy production so that you rest and heal. We want to be in that rest and digest position, right? So our doctors focus on symptoms, they focus on other diseases and start checking for an array of problems. And if one of those aren't diagnosed, that often get brushed off. We're taken down the wrong path. We're given hypothyroid medicine when we don't actually have a low thyroid, or the low thyroid something downstream like stress. Sometimes we're given hormone replacement therapy, antidepressants, or anti-anxiety medications. And when our lab tests come back, which don't they always, we get brushed off. We get told it's in our head. We're being female. It's part of getting older. You're just a busy mom or a career woman, all that. Our doctors give up on us and tell you it's all in your head and to just live with it. Now, one of the main reasons for this is that doctors, again, don't believe in chronic fatigue syndrome. At least most of them don't. And if they do nothing in their world that can fix us. Most doctors still believe adrenal fatigue is just not a thing. So going down the Western medicine route, well, it's a good idea. I mean, it's not a bad idea, I guess, to get the blood work done and to get all the other things taken care of. So it doesn't mean that things are normal. So when you get brushed off, that makes me mad. So that is why I really want you to just really understand what's all going on here, because it's absolutely not normal and it's definitely not in your head. And I can help you reboot your energy naturally if you're ready for that. In my energy and hormonal rebalance system, I've helped dozens of women reboot their energy production and start to feel like themselves again, get out there and live their lives, join their families on weekend adventures in the mountains, lives again, feel more accomplished at work, take on new projects, and feel like, you know, that sense of empowerment that comes from having a successful career. As women battle chronic fatigue, your body needs a safe, gentle, and targeted approach that targets, of course, the root causes, not a toxic drug that only potentially dampens or suppresses your symptoms. Drugs given for symptoms in many cases make the symptoms and fatigue worse because your poor liver is already struggling with nutrient deficiencies, preventing its detoxification work, and potentially which is a big fatigue causing problem. Nutritional deficiencies are really the biggest problem for women with chronic fatigue because first, well, it's unfortunate, but most of us have not been eating the most energy boosting nutritious meals growing up and as we maneuver through our busy lives. A history of bad dieting, yo-yo weight loss dieting, highly processed foods, junk foods, fast foods, and other non-foods, plus an avoidance of healthy fats with unhealthy fats will have created so many common nutrient deficiencies or gaps in your body. On top of this, since about 1950 or so, the quality of foods, especially fruits like fruits and vegetables, has degraded due to over farming, chemical uses, soil nutrient depletion. For example, have reduced almost 85% since the 1950s. When our bodies are unwell or imbalanced, there's also a lot of excessive amount of usage in order to do the processes like digestion, detoxification, hormone production, immune system, etc. So of course, when we look at these imbalances for a long time, nutrient deficiencies get worse. And your body's always going to steal the nutrients for the most important survival mechanisms first, leaving very little behind. So that's where the gap scenario comes in. So you might have enough, but because that stress response is just kicked into high gear. Inflammation is always on. They're taking all of the fuel, all of the nutrients, and leaving very little for anything else. Chronic stress also leads to so many common nutrient deficiencies. And again, that's completely normal, but 99% of women battling burnout or extreme fatigue are going to have these imbalances. So magnesium, vitamin C, potassium, and sodium. These are the most common deficiencies and will all lead to a person feeling more fatigued. B vitamins, also very important, and also get depleted really fast when we live with a lot of chronic stress, maladaptive stress response, and that huge stress load. So if you want healthy hormones, especially your energy and fat-burning hormones, you need adequate cholesterol too. Unfortunately, many women follow fad weight loss diets or fast, and you've been told that eating fat makes you fat. As I sit here at my parents' cabin, I just noticed the other day that my parents had a box of cereal, I think it was, and a big sign on the front, big 0 grams of cholesterol. Like cholesterol is this bad thing. So yes, unhealthy fats like vegetable or hydrogenated oils do lead to more fat storage, of course. These aren't the ratios, and they can cause hormonal imbalances and inflammation. But those healthy fats from the omega-3 fatty vessels and of cholesterol in your diet, in your body, your liver doesn't have to make up the difference, which takes load off of it because it'll always make up what you need, and that can be one cause for fatty non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And you'll be able to make the stress hormone you need, your blood pressure hormone, aldosterone, progesterone, estrogen. This means thyroid gets made indirectly, DHEA, testosterone, all these hormones start to regulate of the cholesterol to start the process. If you're low on cholesterol, all of that to producing cortisol and stress hormones. So women with low cholesterol have a lot of PMS, miscarriages, infertility, menstrual issues, menopause problems. So all of my clients that come to me to reboot their energy, reduction in cholesterol, and omega-3 fatty acids. So just make sure you're getting enough of those. Just a little side note, if you're vegan and battling chronic fatigue or burnout, you are going to struggle just a little bit, quite a bit, to make adequate cholesterol without having animal protein in your diet, especially eggs. So do your best to increase your plant-based healthy fats like raw nuts and seeds, coconut oil, olive oil, avocado, etc. And do this slowly until you notice an improvement in your energy. I 100% respect the reasoning and the path of veganism. However, I just want you to know that sometimes it's not a healthy diet for women battling chronic stress or hormonal issues or chronic inflammation. So I do work with vegan clients as well to really help them try to make sure that they're doing the most they can to get the treatment that they have to have in order to reduce hormones and reduce that inflammation, because that is at the heart of fatigue and burnout. Okay. So chronic fatigue, as you can probably see, can feel a bit confusing to figure out and fix. Right? And it took me 20 plus years to tie all these pieces together on my own. And I so wish I had figured this out, how to reverse my exhaustion much earlier. I wish I had been able to find someone that had all this figured out, but I didn't. So I felt so compelled to share my solution with other women battling fatigue, because it's not fun. It's hard to do it on your own when you're exhausted. I want to teach you all the steps that I took to reverse my chronic fatigue and to help them do it in as little as 6 months, instead of wasting more time trying to fix your fatigue, instead of spending quality time with your kids, being out there in soccer, or games, hiking with them on weekends, running with them on the beach, building your career if that's your dream, and just really fulfilling all those dreams and ambitions that you have for yourself. I created the energy and hormonal rebalance system specifically for you, a busy, exhausted woman who wants to take control of her own health naturally, who wants answers to her fatigue, and who wants a solution that works. My system is a holistic approach to reversing chronic fatigue, and it addresses the three health that trigger exhaustion and make life miserable for so many women. So first, super important, these 3 key areas: functional nutrition, which means learning about how to eat very specific foods because of their nutritional content that will combat the imbalances in your body. So for example, avocados, high in healthy fat and magnesium and potassium, so really good for the adrenals. Number 2 is lifestyle habits. So these are the little things we do every single day or week that either make or break our energy. So sleep, exercise, our self-care habits, our eating habits, that these really need to be aligned with recovery from chronic fatigue, which frankly, most health professionals absolutely don't understand when it comes to women with this disease, especially exercise. I will go into that another day. And then third is mindset and practicing some specific techniques to learn how to let go of limiting beliefs, reframe your thoughts, work on those 5 personalities just to, calm them a little bit and make them work for you instead of against you. Because the mindset, it's so strong, it can 100% and most often keep us stuck in fight or flight over anything else. So in conjunction with the 3 main areas of energy healing is the field of energy medicine or bioengineer and energetics. Bioenergetics. So that's things like acupuncture, yoga, Reiki, and reflexology. And they really can help rebalance your energy meridians in the body and fields to improve the flow of the neural signaling, the blood, the lymph, the hormones. These are very good at supporting those 3 underlying the triad of chronic fatigue recovery, as I call them: the nutrition, functional nutrition, lifestyle habits, and mindset. These modalities, so those core energy healing concepts, how it uses nutrition, removes the trigger of fatigue, and then these bioenergetics help to increase the flow of the energy throughout the body. So they work together. There are a number of expensive devices on the market that claim to help rebalance your energy. They're very expensive to do the exact same thing as acupuncture or yoga or sometimes even massage, reflexology. So I personally don't think that they're necessary, nor are they worth the money if those 3 main areas of health are not rebalanced first. These devices are another form of treatment, just like a drug. They treat the problem. You'll have to do it again and again and again because you're not actually removing the underlying triggers of the problem and resetting the body and strengthening what's going on. So we're coming to the end. I hope that this gave you a good overview of what chronic fatigue is all about, why it happens, and most importantly, how to start getting rid of it. So I am currently looking for new clients to work with to help them learn everything they need to learn in order to reverse their chronic fatigue or burnout in as little as 6 months. I love coaching my clients so much with this because I get to work one-on-one with most of them. I get to teach them all these cool new techniques and strategies that many of them haven't even heard of through all their research. I get to see the transformation happen in as little as 4 to 6 months for most of my successful clients. So if you're curious about what working with me to ditch your brain fog, your exhaustion, your burnout, bone crushing fatigue, all of that, then I'm ready to chat with you and get you started. So I offer you a free 45-minute coaching session to make sure us working together is a good fit for both of us. I only like to work with motivated, determined women who are ready to do the work and are committed to following through on all of the little baby steps that I teach them. So if that's you, well, first, there's a link in the description to check out more about the energy and hormonal rebalance system. And then inside that link, you'll see a link to book the call if that sounds like something you would like to learn more about. All right, I hope to talk to you soon.